And good evening once again, everybody. Welcome to another Hoops HD Bracket Rundown, the podcast where we go through each and every team as we see them in the seed list right now, as if the tournament were going to start in about 2 hours from now. We're going to build our S curve 1 through 68 tonight. By tomorrow morning, we'll have a bracket up on the website. Just for everybody's information, we're doing this right around 10 o'clock p.m. here on Thursday evening, so a few final scores that come in late tonight may end up with a last-minute adjustment. I'm your host, Chad Sherwood, though. With me, first of all, and most importantly, is Joby. Joby, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing really well. I demand to no longer be. I demand to let my bracket actually have a vote, and I know that I will win every close tie against a Puffin.
Yeah, if everyone that joined us last week, Joby moderated as David and I hashed things out, and he had the veto vote. We're switching things up, mostly because I was out this evening, didn't have a chance to build my escort.
What?
I'm going to be the veto power.
How come I never get to moderate?
Oh, David Griggs, he's here with us as well. David, how are you doing tonight?
How come I never get to moderate?
David, I think you need arms to be able to moderate.
Oh, I can manage. You should see what I could do with just, well, it's a family.
A brain would help as well.
What the hell? My God.
Oh, it's so small in that little tiny blue head of yours, you know. Those giant eyes.
I'm going to win a lot of tiebreakers tonight.
Anyway.
Enough picking on David Griggs here.
Oh, boy.
Anyhow, just like last week, with the format's going to be Joby and David will go line by line. I'm going to pull up a screen here with the bracket on it as we cross our fingers and hope it actually works.
Yeah, we never know if Chad's going to actually be able to make it work.
All right. Is it there? Maybe.
I saw it. There you go.
There we go. It's there. And hopefully we got. I think we have all 16 lines on the same page. I've played with the format a little bit.
Yeah.
And unless we have any other news we want to get to, why don't we just get right on into the one line here?
There is, but we'll cover it on the one line. News out of Duke.
Oh yeah, there is big news out of Duke.
Yes.
But let's start here.
Cover it on the one line, but yes, in one of the top two lines, we will discuss.
Well, because of that, let's start with you, Joby. Who are your number one seed?
My number one seed is no shock, Kentucky. I think everybody but John Feinstein agrees with that. Right now, Virginia is a 2. I mean, we know it's 1-2 with them as the undefeateds. The big things that I point out are the remaining teams on the one. I have Kansas as the 3rd overall because they are all alone in the lead of the Big 12, so I'm presuming they win the Big 12 regular season title. The Big 12 is maybe the toughest conference top to bottom I have seen ever in terms of this. When Texas Tech and TCU are your last two out, and hint, spoiler alert, I have 8 Big 12 teams in right now. I mean, it is amazing. Kansas is all alone in first. They get the 3. They have a amazingly tough schedule out of conference too. The 4th team also might be a little controversial. I went with Arizona. They are first place in the Pac-12.
Wow.
And my number 5 lost to that number 4 team.
Okay,
so we're just putting them in without even asking what I got.
Well, David, first of all, let's start with those top 2 teams. Do you agree about Kentucky and Virginia in that order?
I have Virginia number 1 on the S curve for several reasons.
Okay.
This is what Virginia has done. They are unbeaten, as is Kentucky. They've played the 10th overall strength of schedule. They have won at VCU. I believe they're the only team that has. They've won at Maryland. They've won at Notre Dame. I believe they're the only team that's done that. They've won at Miami, Florida, which Eastern Kentucky did, but not many other people have. I just think that stretch of true road games, I think Virginia has better paper. And on top of that, I think Virginia, head-to-head, I mean, I think they're better on paper, and I do think they would beat Kentucky. I think it's a bad matchup for Kentucky. I think they'd really struggle with the pack line. Kentucky, a really good defensive team, but so is Virginia. and I think Virginia can shoot the ball better. I like this Virginia team actually more than Kentucky. I do think also, Joby mentioned he had Kansas on his one line. I don't. I have them down on the two. I think a lot of people looked at that game against Kansas for Kentucky and were just completely floored by that and the Texas game. Kentucky hasn't looked as good as that on a regular basis. I mean, they've never looked bad, but they have had to sweat out some teams, as has Virginia. So it isn't as if Kentucky hasn't shown us that they can be beat. But look, I mean, at VCU, at Maryland, at Notre Dame, at Miami, that is an incredible slate of wins.
You know, as a in all due candor, everybody knows that I'm a UVA grad. I hate to have to argue for Kentucky on this one. Kentucky, the road component for Virginia is unmatched in the country, without a doubt. And the committee looks at that very seriously. But Kentucky, when they are on, they're the best team I've seen in a decade. When they're not on, they're still one of the best teams I've seen in a decade.
Well, when they're not on, they just bring in the other team.
I mean, this is a special team in Kentucky. If Virginia, and I'll say this, if Virginia gets through their next 3 games undefeated, I don't see much of an argument to not have Virginia number 1, which for those out there, everybody knows game day with Duke this Saturday, but only 2 days later, Virginia has to go to Chapel Hill, playing a very up and rising North Carolina team, and then after that you have to go to you have Louisville.
You know what? Since I'm the arbitrator here on this, I agree with Joby 100% there that if Virginia gets through these next 3, I think they belong in that 1 spot. But given that they haven't played any of those 3 games yet, I still think they're a hair below Kentucky. I may change my tune come Sunday night if Virginia beats Duke this weekend. Definitely after Monday night if they get through the first 2. But I think we're going to put Kentucky right here, number 1 overall, with a strike through them. That is there on purpose, everybody, because shame on Kentucky still. We talked about it last night for canceling their game next season with UTEP.
Yeah. Okay.
Number 2, Virginia. But David, who Joby has Kansas and Arizona 3-4. Who are your 3-4?
I have Gonzaga and Duke. Those two.
Wow.
Again, Duke again with the wins at Wisconsin, at Louisville. I realize they lost at Notre Dame over the weekend, but Notre Dame only has 1 loss, much less at home, and it was. I just don't think that you ding them for that loss. So again, I have Duke there. Kansas. If we're dipping down to the next line, Kansas and Whiskey are my next 2.
Okay, so you don't think Arizona's close to the 1 line right now?
No, I have them actually 7th on overall, which would put them on the 2 line.
I'm kind of inclined to agree with both of you in a way here. Joby, I think you're overrating Arizona a little bit, although I'm as big of a fan of this Arizona team, and they were my preseason pick to win it all.
Well, then I'm moving them down further.
But I would think at this point, this Gonzaga team just keeps winning, and we saw with Wichita State getting a 1 seed last year. I'm going to with David there on Gonzaga, but I'm going to go with Joby with Kansas as the 4th team on the 1 line here. Which brings us to, we've had discussion already of Arizona.
I appreciate David's color. Is that pink or is that orange? So it's blue and orange for Virginia? Is that?
What's that? Yeah, something like. I don't know. I'm feeling a little. I don't know why.
well, David, you won half the battle. Come on. Now, Duke and Arizona and Whiskey have all been mentioned already. Let's go with you, David. We know you like Duke top of this line because they got bounced down. Who are your other 3 teams here?
Whiskey, Arizona, who you mentioned, and again another team. I have Notre Dame. I really do in the number 8 spot. And I mean, really, the thing about this Notre Dame team is when you look at their out-of-conference schedule, I mean, holy crap, how do you not put them all the way up at the top?
More 300 games. I mean, what are you doing? I mentioned this last week. What are you doing playing Grambling? I mean, it's
Uh,
not the local bad team. I mean,
okay, honestly, I mean, I hope no one listening or watching wrecks their car or dies of shock. I have Notre Dame at number 8, but I am so ashamed of their out-of-conference schedule. I am actually willing to lose this argument. It's the first time ever I would have actually lost an argument.
I don't remember ever hearing David Griggs
well,
concede
I
an
will
argument
see.
ever, especially without having the counter argument yet. We don't even know who
I
Joe
will
B.
seize the Villanova Wildcats into that role instead. But on this line, let's take a quick moment for those who may. Most of the college basketball world who's paying attention to the suspension of Rashid Suleiman today.
It wasn't a suspension. He's done.
Yeah. I mean, he's gone.
Yeah.
Duke is now 7 deep. That we will see how that impacts them. I agree. We cannot say until now because he was coming off the bench, and I do disagree with what some folks have said. They still have outside shooting. Winslow's starting to hit outside shots he didn't earlier in the year, even more than Suleiman. So, it combined with Cook. So it's not like Duke is going to fall off a cliff here, but does this ding them to where they can't make that move to the one line because they will lose certain games that they probably wouldn't, maybe with just another man taking 10 minutes off the rotation, resting Jones and company.
Just jumping in here, we don't know the circumstances behind his dismissal, and Joby's right, it could hurt them, but you do have to wait and see. We've seen this happen before, and I think to a degree we've seen it happen with Dayton. Sometimes if a problem player is dismissed from the team, even if he's a contributing player, even if he's a high contributing player, sometimes just getting him out of the locker room, and I realize this isn't something that can be quantified, can actually make the team better. Now, it's not fair to speculate what happened, but if it was because he was a problem to the team, Duke might not miss a beat. But we do have to wait and see.
As the arbiter here, and really because we don't know how Duke is going to play without him, but it is a somewhat significant loss. Just because of that, I'm going to give Joby the nod here with put Arizona over Duke.
Crazy.
David, I know you had Wisconsin at 7. I think I agree with you there. I think actually we're all three of us.
I have Wisconsin at 8 and Villanova right ahead of them. I'm fine with Wisconsin. It's a very tight call for me on that.
So we got Villanova at 8 because David already conceded his Notre Dame argument.
I gotta add. Well, I'm assuming we're gonna get to this team that I have at number 9 on this line, but okay.
Well, we're up to the 9 line, and since we're doing this the S curve fashion like last week, David, you're up again. So.
3 line. Okay. Oh, I have Utah actually ahead of Nova at number 9. Nova we've already put in. Notre Dame we haven't put in yet. They would be who I would have next, and then I have Iowa State. Would be number 11, and actually the last team on my 3 line would be North Carolina.
Joby, anywhere close to him?
Yeah, no, I have 3. I am in agreement. Notre Dame was coming up right at. I'm in agreement. Notre Dame is in a good spot here. Likewise. I'm in good shape with Iowa State. I think you and I have Iowa State at the exact same spots.
Yeah.
This is where I trot out. I did not have Utah down. I have Utah, slipping back a little bit. They don't have the heft of wins for me quite yet here. They can develop it, but they really only have 2 good wins right now in Wichita State and Washington. You need a little bit more. VCU has that right now. VCU may not be able to pick up more, but I have VCU on this line.
Wow.
Jumping up there.
Yeah.
And then combined, the last team on this line is that Wichita State team.
Wichita State on the 3 line, huh?
On the 3 line.
Yeah, and 2. I mean, we're not miles apart here. I had Wichita.
In North Carolina, Wichita State was a coin flip, so I can concede North Carolina here pretty.
Yeah, because I had Wichita and VCU on my 4 line. I mean, I had VCU a little further down the 4 line, but we're not miles apart. The problem is, okay, this is my issue with VCU, and I realize that we may not have hashed this out yet.
Mm-hmm.
Are we trying to guess the committee, or are we acting as if we are the committee? Or are we kind of doing a combination of both?
I think we're doing a little bit of a combination of both.
Yeah.
I always like to try to guess the committee as best I can, and I try to guess the committee as a good committee member would do. In other words, if it's a bad committee, I'm going to be wrong. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that makes sense.
Well,
you know,
I mean,
the famous
anything the committee
2006, which my athletic director ran, would be an example of a bad committee.
Well, anything that differentiates from what I want to do is wrong and bad. But I like this VCU team a lot. I think on the court, this is about where they belong. It really is. This is a really good team, especially with how they're playing now. You look at them on paper, and they're not as good. Well, the reason they're not as good is because they haven't been. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say well, the reason they're not as good is because they haven't been as good all year as they are right now. Their paper is they won at Cincinnati, and that's really it. Now that's pretty good. They also beat Northern Iowa. Yeah.
And they beat three teams that we're going to be discussing at least bubble wise on Davidson, George Washington. That's more, I might add, than what Utah's done this year.
And that's the debate right here for this last spot is Utah versus VCU. I think we've both agreed on Carolina. That's why I put them on the 11th spot.
I just could see the committee not liking VCU's paper.
I think that.
I mean, to be honest, they've beaten Wichita State and Washington. Washington being a bubble team, Wichita State, which obviously I think I.
It really is a close call here. I think I agree with Joby that I like this VCU team better. However, who do I think is really going to be in this spot? I think I'm gotta have to go with Utah here. And David, you win the argument.
And one of the reasons for Utah is the perceived NABC ranking because for whatever reasons the polls really like Utah. No, Utah's a good team. I mean, it's not outrageous. The polls do like them. But I don't know, and I can't even quantify it. I just get the sense that the committee would like Utah more.
And I agree with you, David. That's why I've given you this argument. You win one this time around. VCU, obviously, I think is the top of the four line from this discussion. So, Joby, you already mentioned Wichita State. You have two more over here?
And Wichita State would be the highest team that we haven't wrten down yet on mine.
Right. And who's your next two beyond that?
My next two are Butler. This is the paper team. Yeah. Are they as good as their paper? But I do like Butler here. And then Louisville rounds out, which gives a very impressive 5 protected seeds for the ACC.
Well, David, first let's start with you. Do you agree with those 3 teams, or do you?
Okay, I have Louisville, Wichita. Have we put VCU in yet?
Yes.
Okay. We put who am I missing? Okay, 13. I have 13 Louisville, 14 Wichita, 15 VCU, 16 Maryland, who I would swap for Butler after they missed the bus to the Ohio State Arena tonight.
Then you both are agreeing here.
I bumped Louisville into that spot after tonight. I'm switching Maryland out, so we're on the same page, I think.
So Wichita State, Butler, Louisville, I believe in that order is the way you two seem to have become coming out here.
That's fine.
Let me just throw this out there. Neither of you like West Virginia at this point?
They're coming up. I mean, they're definitely on my next line.
It's a tough call between them and Louisville. West Virginia, Louisville has 0 bad losses, along with their I wish Louisville had more wins. Like West Virginia.
Yeah.
West Virginia only has 1 more top 50 win than Louisville, so it's not a dramatic deal. Whereas Louisville's losses are, stellar. It's almost like David said earlier. I give him a pass that almost doesn't count sort of loss.
Yeah.
That's all Louisville has. Whereas West Virginia has their they slipped up against a good tournament level teams, but not protected seed level teams. And we're talking very close between the two. But I give it to the Cardinals right now.
I do as well.
All right, then. Well, let's move on, Joby. It's your turn up again here. Who are your 4-5 seed?
Let's go ahead and say West Virginia here.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Maryland. I know I've got to really reevaluate Maryland after tonight. I mean, it was a shellacking, but I'm going to go ahead and say Maryland still.
Mhm.
Then let's see, it was Maryland. Then because
Divide by 4, Joby. You can do this.
Arkansas and Indiana.
Arkansas and Indiana, both way up
It's a
here on the
drop
5
off
line.
right here.
Okay, David.
Indiana, interesting.
I think it's a very interesting pick as well by both of Joey's picks.
Okay.
Since if you two agree, it's going in. Go
Lord.
ahead.
Let me see here. I have.
This is the 5. This is 17 through 20 on the seed list.
Yeah. Okay. We've put Butler in, right? It's hard
Yes.
for me to see the seed. Okay. I have Maryland, West Virginia, those two, like that we just said. I have Oklahoma up here, who I realize is schizophrenic. They're easy to argue for, but they're also very easy to argue against. And I have Arkansas up on this line.
Well, so did Joby. You both did.
Yeah.
All right. So
Indiana, I have a few planets away.
Okay. Well, we have agreement on West Virginia, Maryland, Arkansas. We're going to go with those 3.
Yeah.
I don't think I agree with either one of you on Arkansas, but so be
On the
it.
Indiana issue, I was trying not to get caught up too much on recency with the Purdue loss, because that obviously is not a great loss, but when you look at other aspects, they're sitting there with 4 top 50 wins, 3 in the top 25, good teams: Maryland, Butler, SMU, Ohio State, and Illinois, which somebody has on their bubble.
How many road games has Ohio State won? I mean, that's just again, those aren't that good, and they beat SMU. It's not like they beat them last week when SMU was really rolling. I don't know.
They won on with Butler, and they did win Illinois away. Illinois away is not just a world beat, but by the same token, Eastern Washington is their only home loss. And actually, Eastern Washington, I would argue, is not a bad loss. It's one.
It's not. It's not a bad loss. I mean, that's not why I'm not dinging them for bad losses. I just don't think that they've done that much away from home. They did beat Butler on a neutral floor, and they beat Illinois. Like the Illinois win is pretty solid, but I just don't think it's like when you look at a team like my next team down, like Oklahoma. Or
Oklahoma's the team that you put in here on this line, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the debate right now is Indiana or Oklahoma for this last spot.
And it is the schizophrenic nature of Oklahoma. Of course, Indiana can.
Because Oklahoma also beat Butler on a neutral floor, and they won at Texas, and they won at Tulsa, albeit before Tulsa really got rolling. And they won at UCLA. Oh wait, we're looking at good wins. My mistake. My mistake.
As arbitrator here, I just look at the strength of the Big 12 because I think you got 3 more Big 12 teams coming up on the next 1 to 1.5 seed lines beyond Oklahoma even, and for that reason, I don't think the Big 10 is as strong this year, and that Purdue loss is still in my mind a little too much. So I'm going to give this one to David and put Oklahoma in here.
Yeah. I have Indiana, by the way, behind SMU. I have them at 31. I know Indiana beat SMU, but I have them on the 8 line.
Well,
so we're way apart on that one.
I think, David, it's your turn now. We do have Indiana as the one team we've been discussing that isn't in yet, but who are your next 4 teams here?
Okay, this is okay. I have, and this is going to be crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I have Northern Iowa all the way up here. I really do.
Okay.
Georgetown. I don't know why I like Georgetown, but I mean, I just look at their paper and it's really good. Baylor, who's having issues away from home, but I still had them up here, and I had Texas up here too.
Wow.
I do like the Baylor and Texas picks here. I'll tell you, in my opinion, I think them and Okie State should be near this conversation, but I'm just the arbitrator here. So, Joby, who are your 14?
It looks like I'm going to lose this argument, but Georgetown agreement with.
Okay.
This is then where, and this next team, you're gonna get a little shock on, but I actually think, especially after today, Providence all alone at the top of the Big East. That means something. And they actually have a good collection of wins on top of it. I think we downplay Providence because they're Providence.
They do. I can actually see. I looked at Providence really closely, and I had them high. Or I thought I had Providence too high, but I was like, I could actually put them higher. But you could actually put them lower. I had Providence on the next line down. The thing about Providence is their good is really good, and their bad is, oh my God, they lost at home to Brown.
and there is that, which is holding them back. I just look at what they've been doing in conference, in a very good conference, a top 4 conference.
Yeah.
That means a lot to me, what they've been doing. Maybe I'm overrating that component. They look solid again this afternoon. You know, it was only DePaul, but DePaul's already beaten people we're going to be talking about in this field.
And Providence has looked really good in conference play. I like this Providence team. I don't have them quite this high, but I guess what I'm saying is that I don't think it's completely outrageous that you do.
All right. Well, Joby, who's your other team? We know you have Indiana up here already. Georgetown, Providence,
LSU. Yeah.
Again, I thought I had LSU really high, but not this high. Holy crap! Is this the 6 that we're on?
This is the 6th line we're on. This is 21 through 24.
Wow.
Joby, where do you have this Baylor, the Texas, and the Northern Iowa teams?
I actually have downplayed. I think the Big 12 is very solid, but they're beating the hell out of each other to a degree, and because Texas has a losing record in the Big 12 right now. The committee looks at that sort of thing, rightfully or wrongfully. They really do, and so Texas. I actually have Texas. That being a huge factor in it. Texas is all the way down right now. They're wearing darks.
Okay, and how about this Northern Iowa team?
Now, I think there's a huge drop-off in the middle of the 9 seed, and they're on the good half of that, but there's a big drop-off of the 9 seed in their part of it. Baylor is wearing whites, but they could be playing Texas if they're allowed to.
Okay, and how about UNI?
UNI, I actually have right next to Baylor on the 8 as well.
Okay. I mean, you guys are all. This is kind of tough. If Joby's going Indiana, Providence, LSU, David, you're going Northern Iowa, Baylor, Texas.
Northern Iowa has no top 50 wins. Now, I'm not saying that condemns them to not being in the tournament, but I think that's a perfect place for an 8 or 9 seed is a perfect place for a team like that.
Right.
Well, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to go with Baylor first. Then I'm going to go with Joby's team here, Providence. And then we're going to go with Northern Iowa.
They're high in the yeah.
I like their ranking. I think that their overall record is there. And I mean they still have a couple games where they have to prove themselves, and things could change after this weekend when they play Wichita. But
if they beat Wichita State, they're shooting up quite a few seed lines before it happens.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So as we sit here, I think, Joby, it's your turn. I know you've got LSU and Indiana that we haven't put in. Indiana, then LSU, who we still haven't put in yet. Who are your next 2 teams beyond those 2?
I am I am more than willing to drop after today's putrid performance in Dayton.
Can you still? We can't see the 6 line, I don't think.
Yeah, but since
can't see the 6
is an ugly team, but Cincinnati does fit right here.
Okay, can we see the 6 line a little better now here?
Yeah, it's a little small. You could even blow it up a little bit, but yeah. Okay,
and the team that I'll put up, I'm waiting to do my run of Big 12 teams still. I'm going to go, though, still out of the state of Texas, but the non-Big 12 team here. I'm going to go with Larry Brown's SMU team. The way they've been playing lately, I think you're going to see them higher than even this later on.
Okay. Now, do you still have Dayton here, or do you want to throw a different team up instead of them?
I'm throwing SMU in instead of Dayton.
Okay, and who's your other team here?
It was Cincinnati.
Cincinnati. I'm sorry. Missed that.
Wow.
So Indiana. Indiana, LSU, Cincinnati, SMU. David, I know
Yeah.
you've got Texas in already. Who are your next
Yeah.
three teams after that?
It would be Miami, the Miami Hurricanes, and I realize they're all over the place. They do have that win at Duke. They've won at Syracuse, at Florida. Yeah, this is not sounding too, but I mean, again, the win at Duke. So I have them up here. I realize that this is high. I have San Diego State, Oklahoma State, Providence. We've already put in. So my next team would also be, like Joby, the SMU Mustangs.
Okay, so well, you actually have Texas, Miami, San Diego State, Okie State. SMU would be your next team
Right. Yeah.
on that.
And I
And
would
that's the
add,
only.
David's line here is a lot like my next line. We're not really that far apart with teams like San Diego State, Oklahoma State. Not having already mentioned Texas. I don't think we're way off. I feel like, and this is an editorial comment, I feel like once we get to about the middle of the fifth, sixth line spot to the middle of the ninth, it is a very tight call among all of them.
Well, I mean, you guys
There's
have
a
just
drop off in the middle of the ninth.
you've given me 8 different teams to put in here on the 7 line. And then a ninth team, maybe SMU, that you agree on.
Yeah.
I think that I got to put SMU at the top here just because it's the only team you two even think should be up here. After that, I guess I'm gonna kind of go bounce back and forth here. I'm gonna go with Joby's LSU pick, followed by David's Texas pick that we held over from last time.
I think we can't hold Indiana out any longer.
And I think I got to go with that Indiana team at this point also. I personally think it's a little bit high, but given how high Joby you ranked them, I think we got to put them in eventually here.
Well, I mean, we could put them on the next line, which is where I had them.
So, David, you're holding. You
won the compromise, David. I had him 5. You had him 8. It winds up at the bottom of the 7. That's
yeah.
Good call.
And David, I mean, that Miami pick, that Georgia Tech loss last night really just wants me to push them down a bit. And same with San Diego State, just suffered a loss as well.
Lee Delvecchio has already set everyone straight on how good Georgia Tech is. That's all I'm going to say about that.
I think, David, we're up to you, and I know that Miami, San Diego State, and Oklahoma State, you mentioned all 3 of those, and they're not in yet, so I really only need one more team from you then.
LSU is in.
Was in already, yeah.
Yeah. Let me see. Indiana is in. Oh, my God. I can't believe I'm doing this. We're moving Stanford.
I'm in agreement with that, actually.
Okay. All right. Well, Joby, I know you had Cincinnati that hasn't gotten in yet. You like Stanford.
Yeah.
Who are the other two?
I like Cincinnati over Miami, but the other 3 teams are my 8 line.
Okay, yeah. Cincinnati, Miami, Stanford, and who?
No, I did not have Miami. I had San Diego State.
Okay, Cincinnati, Stanford, San Diego State, and Oklahoma State?
Yeah.
Okay, then we are actually finally have agreement again. I am going to agree with Joby here that Miami is still a little bit too high and go with his 4 teams. So we're going to go Cincinnati.
Yeah. And this Cincinnati team, I realize we're getting to the point to where everybody has warts or dead weights. This Cincinnati team needs to do something more away from home than what they've done. But I agree that I didn't have them that much lower than this. I actually had them on the 9.
I know that this is a team that isn't in both of our fields, but they were probably 3 days ago. They did win in Raleigh, and that's not a bad win to ignore.
It's starting to look bad after they lose to Clemson, but
yeah. But
I think, Joby, we're up to you this time. You have no holdovers, so it would be whoever's 33 through 36 on your curve here.
Well, unfortunately, I guess I got to try out Dayton right now, even though I'm not pleased by it.
Wow.
That's fair. You did mention them earlier, so.
Yeah.
I don't have them that far off.
Yeah, I'm fine with being over. Yeah, I just haven't reassessed after the.
I actually would agree with you that Dayton's right here in the 9 line at the moment after this loss, but.
Yeah,
But David, you're going to lose this argument already.
No, I have Dayton close to this
one.
I don't have them on it, but they're my next one down.
Right, and then this is where we haven't gotten through all our Big 12 teams now. No, we don't have Baylor yet, right? Or no, Baylor.
Baylor was in at the 6th line. It's you can't quite
right.
see on the screen.
I had Baylor. Yeah, I had Baylor at the 8, but we've already done that. The next round, this is the SEC. This is where the SEC comes in. Is a drop off in my opinion.
Right.
Georgia, Texas A&M.
Oh my God! This high.
Wait. A&M on the 9 line.
A&M on the 9.
I need you to justify this for me, Joe.
Oh my God!
And Seton Hall.
Seton Hall.
Okay. I can justify A&M on the 9 line. It's not that I want them here. It's just who do you have to choose otherwise? A&M has a couple of nice wins away from home, LSU and Tennessee. They haven't had a bad loss per se, because I don't view Alabama on the road as a bad loss. They're Casper Milquetoast. They're not a great. I think there's a huge drop off in the middle of the 9. I've been saying it. A&M is of that, but I think they're better than some of the other teams out there.
You didn't consider Xavier at this point. I know that they were a home court hero all season, but what they did to Georgetown this week.
Yeah, it changes the complexion of their whole profile, I think.
Well, I think Xavier's. I have him right next, so it's not like. But I do like. It was a nice win. You're right. Xavier was a really nice win. They're now sitting on 3 top 50 wins. Xavier's definitely done well, but they also have just three awful losses. I mean, yes, one win will do a lot if they continue on this stretch. Xavier will be passing not just A&M, but a lot of other teams. But I mean, come on, 3 top 100 losses. They've got to go through a lot more wins to make, their missteps be a thing of the past.
Okay.
We're not. It's kind of funny. Like if you're.
But they're in. I mean.
Yeah. If you're a line off, it makes it seem like you're in huge disagreement. But in reality, Joby and I just have Xavier 1 spot off. I have them at 36 at the bottom of the 9, and he has them at 37. I think the top of the 10.
I do have them at 38. But,
or 38. Okay, so
we're 2 spots away from each.
Yeah. This line, this is a team. What about Iowa? Because I had them all the way up here. And, again, I see wins at Ohio State and at North Carolina. And I guess I know that we're all different. And this is one of the things that you have to keep in mind about the 10 members on the committee. We're 3 people. What jumps out at you and the first thing that catches your eye is not the same as what catches mine. I think everybody knows what catches my eye, and that's who have you beaten on the road and what is your road record. At North Carolina, at Ohio State, I just can't get by that. I really like that about Iowa.
I do like Iowa. They've got other problems, though. The team that
that's not what catches my eye.
After tonight, because it wasn't fully vetted, because I'm going off a seed list that was compiled mid-afternoon before Ohio State took out Maryland. I'm willing to jump Ohio State of the few spots and say, oh, you don't like A&M? Okay, you're right. I like Ohio State now better than A&M. I'm willing to say that when we're talking Big Ten. Iowa's still a step back, but not far. I have them right behind Xavier. I mean, I'm not.
Okay. Well,
okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, David, you've mentioned Miami, you've mentioned Iowa, you've mentioned Xavier. Who would be your 4th team in this group here?
This might be a surprise. I have Georgia all the way up.
Okay. Well, Joby had them up here too. So.
Okay. Yeah. And I like this. I mean, again, it's just a testament to just how brilliant I am. Because, like I said during the preseason podcast, how much I liked this Georgia team and how I thought they would end up contending for a spot in the tournament, and then here they are on the 9 line. So again, it's just a testament to my brilliance that Georgia is up here.
Well, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go with, since you both put Georgia up here, they're going to be at the top of the line. I'm then going to go with David's pick of Miami, followed by Joby's pick of Dayton. And you both have Xavier pretty close to this, so that's going to be my 4th pick here. Meaning that David, Iowa is not yet in, Joby, Ohio State, Seton Hall, and A&M are not yet in either.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I actually,
Name
loss
the teams that
Miami
run through those teams again. I'm sorry,
yesterday
Chad. Our listeners may not have been paying attention. Who's not in?
Uh, who's not in from Joby's picks are Ohio State, Seton Hall, and Texas A&M.
Okay.
So really, I need one more pick from him to complete his 10th line pick. And then David, the only team you mentioned was Iowa, so I'll need 3 more.
Iowa's part would be what would complete mine.
Okay. Then I'm going to go ahead and put Iowa right in the next team because
Iowa.
So David, who would your next 3 teams be after Iowa?
Oh God, I hate myself. Do I really have to name them?
Yes.
Seton Hall. Oh God.
Okay, Joby agreed with that.
Yeah. Oh God, Colorado State. I think that are they still in the rankings? I think that they are.
I don't think they are, but
okay, they are. Like I had them up here, and I realized that they haven't. Oh God, they've. I wouldn't say that they've beaten up on cupcakes. They've beaten some average to decent teams, but no great ones. But I have them on this line, Colorado State, and then my next win, is George Washington, and I think that the tournament out in Hawaii, the name escapes me all of a sudden, where they beat San Diego State.
Classic.
Yeah, the Diamond Head. That's what's carrying them, and eventually they're going to have to do something else. But I still have them all the way up here because of the neutral floor wins that they got out there, particularly the one against San Diego State.
Well, David, I think I'm going to half overrule you here. I'm going to go with Joby's pick of Ohio State here, but I'm rather than A&M, who I think we could discuss probably on the 11 line.
They're on my 11.
I'm going to go with your top of Colorado State among those two.
Yeah.
So
I actually think Colorado State screams playing game with what they've been doing lately. I have them in the field, but I think that let's prove, kind of that go prove it to me.
We are very close to the playing game. There's only 3 more games to go.
And I guess, Chad, can we get a count here? How many at-larges, or have you been counting as we've gone along?
Yeah. We have 7 at-large spots left to fill. 4 of them are the first 4 and 3 non-first 4.
Okay,
so the next 3 teams are most important. Yeah.
Okay.
So instead of going 4 teams, let's go 3 teams for now. David, I know you like GW. Who are your next 2 beyond them?
The next 2, and I can't wait to say this. I've been looking forward to this all day. I have Tulsa on this line, along with Michigan State.
Tulsa and Michigan State.
Yes.
Joby, we know you've got A&M. Who are your next 2 beyond them?
Yeah, I've been waiting all day to say Tennessee. I'm kidding, but I am saying.
Please be joking. I'm going to veto that right off the screen. So.
Yeah, Tennessee, and then I mentioned this pre-call on this. I'm waiting for this team to fall, but right now the paper, until this team stumbles on what they likely will do, Washington is here. I understand that I fully expect Washington to not be here in a couple of weeks, but right now, if you look at Washington's profile and what they've done to date, Washington deserves to be here. I don't want to anticipate a fall.
Washington just lost their best player in Robert Upshaw, and they played 1 game without him, and they lost. I mean, it was against a pretty good Stanford team.
If they would have lost if he had been there or not, I'd argue.
Even more reason for them not to be there.
No.
What about Tulsa?
Oh, Tulsa, explain to me Southeast Oklahoma, that should haunt them a lot. The thing I do like about Tulsa is they are right now technically in first place of the American.
Yeah.
That is actually a big positive. But overall, Tulsa, they have the only thing I like about Tulsa, and it's not something that I just rely on blindly, is the fact they have a high RPI. They don't have that many wins. They have not a single win against a team that I have in the field.
They don't, but you have to kind of.
It's not in my field.
Yeah,
It's not in my field. Memphis is not in my field.
Yes.
And yet you have no wins against the field, but you do have losses to Oh, I guess those in-state rivalries of Oral Roberts and Southeast Oklahoma are just too much to come up with.
Well, the
Hey,
Southeast
beware
Oklahoma
the
Tulsa
savage
rivalry.
storm of
Wow.
southeastern Oklahoma State.
Yes.
That's all I gotta say.
Yeah.
Okay, here's one of the things, and again, it's what are we doing? Tulsa is 6-2 in true road games, and all 6 teams have winning records at home. Are we guessing the committee or not? And again, I said this either in the email thread or on the message board. If we are guessing, if we're just acting as if we are the committee, I think a lot of tournament teams would have won most of those 6 games, even though that those are teams with winning records at home. But this committee is going to value that probably more than we would if we were the committee, and you probably know which committee members are going to value that a lot.
But here's the thing, David. I actually think even above road wins, I agree that that's an important component. I'm not dismissing that, but I think a bigger thing for the committee, and myself, I might add, are not just road wins, but also wins against teams in the field. They have 0. That is a huge knock against them, and it's not like they haven't had opportunities. They've missed out on. They need to win those in-state ones, and I'm not talking Oral Roberts or Southeast Oklahoma. They probably need to beat either Oklahoma or Oklahoma State. They got both of them at home, and they didn't win either.
Well, let's push this Tulsa issue aside for a moment here, Joby. The other 2 teams David mentioned were George Washington and Michigan State. Do you think they're both in the field, or do you think
I think GW? I had GW as in a play-in game.
Okay, and how about Michigan State?
I had Michigan State as my first team out.
Okay.
Michigan State, and it's almost the similar argument. And you can see this is a great example for those viewers out there. Different people, who are trying to analyze, trying to guess the committee, view things differently and rate things differently. Michigan State has, in my opinion, right now, a similar problem, not as severe as Tulsa, but a similar problem as them, given they only have 2 wins against teams in the field, Indiana and Iowa. Not high teams in the field. Indiana, I would argue, is their best win. But then on top of that, when you compare it, they also have a really bad loss. Texas Southern's a bad loss. And Nebraska is not a really good loss right now. I'm sorry, Tim.
You're going to need to apologize to Tim Miles right now. Bad things will happen. If you don't.
Besides that, they are bereft of anything. I mean, Penn State? Really? Loyola Chicago? I mean, which has fallen on harder times. That looked a lot better about 3 weeks ago than it does right now. They don't have – Michigan State has the opportunity. I think Izzo will get them there. They'll probably replace Washington. But I'm going with the here and the now, and the here and the now, Washington, for instance, has a better profile than Michigan State.
Well, I'm going to overrule you on that issue. I've gone the 3 teams. I think from argument, I think you both kind of agree that George Washington needs to be somewhere here. I put them in. I went with Joby's A&M team here, although I don't personally like the pick, given how high he had them ranked. I think we got to have them in. And
they were inside my first 4. They were the first team inside my first.
Okay,
4,
so you both have them up here.
Yeah.
So that leaves only Michigan State as the last team, and I'm going to go with David on that one. We are now down to the first 4, so the next 4 teams are the first 4. David, who are your first? You got Tulsa there. Who are the other 3?
Well, one is Ohio State, who we already have in.
Right.
The other 3 are Ole Miss. Oh God.
What's funny is I have a bunch of SEC teams ahead of Ole.
Okay, okay. Got Tulsa, Ole Miss. Who else? Who are the other 2?
The Johnnies in Illinois.
St. John's in Illinois, and Joby, you have Tennessee and Washington in already, so you should have 2 more teams.
Yeah, the Johnnies as well.
Okay.
And then I have after dinging the Big 12 seed lines and probably getting Big 12 territory.
I love the pick.
I'm going with K-State.
No! But I'm overruling that.
Okay. All right. Well, let's have this K-State debate. Now, I have been outspoken that I do not like Bruce Weber as a head coach, and I do not like to see K-State in the tournament. They have 4 top 50 wins, 3 of them away from home.
And they actually beat Purdue, which some teams don't.
And they only have one bad loss on their resume. They have as good of a top of a profile as anybody that we're even considering in this section here.
The top of the profile. Here's okay. I realize you realize, and again, it's early. Things will change. Categorically, this would by far be the worst RPI team that anyone inside the bubble has ever gotten. I mean, it's 89th, and I think George Washington had an RPI of 80 one year when they were on the 11 line. VCU did too, but they were not at large bids. Like, those were automatic bids. But inside the bubble, this would be a really low RPI of 89 to be that high. There's that. There's the fact that Bruce Weber is the coach. I mean, you have to consider that. They also lost to Texas Southern. And again, I didn't feel like
Texas Southern, you had in the field a seed line ago, and this team, unlike that team, has 4 top 50 wins. That team has 1, and this one has 4.
Okay, how many games?
And on the road at Oklahoma, neutral at A&M, who we just put in, and they actually beat Purdue, neutral.
Yes, and while we're naming out other teams they've beaten, they also beat Texas Tech and Bradley.
And TCU.
I mean, we're going to mention that they beat Purdue. I just like picking on Purdue. Okay,
and they broke TCU's unbeaten streak. Don't say that wasn't an amazing feat at the time.
Right. I mean, I could see a case being made for them if I really had to. And to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of like the teams that I took. I don't think the committee would pull the trigger on that, but if we are the committee, I could conceive it. 12-9 is kind of low, and
5-3 in the Big 12, the toughest conference in America, is what
we lost the screen there. Let me get that back up.
Yeah, and let me see. And then the other problem is Bruce Weber is the coach.
I can't argue that one, David.
Well.
Yeah.
What I've done here, you both agree on St. John's. They're there. I'm going to go with Joby's Tennessee pick here.
What?
Because he had them up so high.
Tennessee.
Going to give them a slate.
He didn't actually have Tennessee in. I thought he was kidding.
Were you serious about Tennessee, Joby?
You weren't serious.
Very much so. Actually, what's compared to
Tennessee as compared to. Oh my God!
As compared to, I think I like Ole Miss better than Tennessee myself, but you had them in pretty high, and I do personally think that Tennessee is right there on the bubble right now.
And Tennessee needs to win some games away from home, but they don't need to. I mean, they've beaten Butler, they've beaten Arkansas, and yes, I rate K-State high. So when you beat
there he goes with the whiskey bottle. The other first 4 game, I'm going to go with Joby on K-State and with David on Tulsa. Let those two teams hash it out on the court. It's the big wins versus the big record game, I call that.
And Frank Haith has been losing to Big 12 teams for all this time, so it'll just be like old times. All right.
On the right there,
after all said and done, David, how many of your teams in the field were left out?
Let me see.
2.
Yeah, it was Ole Miss and
Illinois. If you look on the right there, I wrote the next 3 teams out: Washington, Ole Miss, Illinois. Do we want to go over a few other teams that just missed the list as well here?
Outside the bubble, but on it and definitely within reach here. I guess one of the teams and again, I have Davidson would have been my next team in. Also worth mentioning, they're going to be in the field as an automatic qualifier, but in the event that they were to need an at-large, I had Green Bay right behind Davidson. Just going down, like if there was this mythical, I guess.
I'll go put Green Bay in there.
Line. Yeah, 13A line. It would be so I like Davidson, Green Bay, Syracuse, Wyoming, and UConn were my next 5. Continuing down the list, we're getting further away here. I had Evansville, Temple, who I'm not huge on, St. Mary's, Boise, who I don't like but ended up liking more than I thought. And then behind all of that, I have Tennessee.
You know what? This is kind of funny because I think about 3 weeks ago, you and I had this
Yeah.
exact opposite argument, David, and you were arguing Tennessee was in, and I told you I didn't even have them on my board. But
No, they're on my board behind. I mean, they're behind Syracuse, Wyoming, UConn, Evansville, Temple, St. Mary's, Boise State, Western Kentucky, Old Dominion, and Alabama. Then they're right there.
Joby, anybody else here? I added Davidson, Syracuse, Wyoming, Connecticut. Those are teams that just missed out. Anyone else that you think just missed out that we did not discuss?
No, the team that the one team I'd have in that group. First of all, I wouldn't have. Well, I'd have St. Mary's in, not Syracuse. I know David mentioned St. Mary's.
Okay, well, it's yeah.
Syracuse is awful. And I'll go with a less awful ACC team, NC State. Yes, they're out right now. They deserve it after last night.
Yeah.
But they can play their way back in. And here's the game that maybe you look ahead to that NC State's season will rest on. We talked about at the very beginning of the show the 3-game stretch Virginia has. It goes Duke, 2 days later in Chapel Hill, then back to Louisville. But then just a few days after that is a trip at Raleigh. So at the end of that 3-game stretch, Virginia has to go to Raleigh. That would be a nice letdown game, thinking Virginia's gone through the gauntlet, etc. That would be a great time for them to get a nice win that would put them back in the field, much like the Duke win originally did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Different teams really quickly here. We're not going to. If you want to actually catch our debates and discussions of them, go to the Under the Radar podcast. But as far as the 12 line after the Green Bay pick, that I think we all agree with is the next best team.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly.
David, do you want to throw some teams out?
A team that we haven't mentioned that we probably should have said on the recent out, but I'll throw out as the winner of their conference hypothetically. I know we were thinking either Western Kentucky, Louisiana Tech. I still think of the teams after Western Kentucky last night, Old Dominion's got the best resume of that group.
Yeah.
So
they're out, but I think they're the best of.
So we'll list Old Dominion here as the automatic bid winner from conference.
Yeah, as the automatic. I think they need the automatic bid at this present time, but they're actually.
For those of you that go back and listen to Under the Radar, you'll hear us doing the exact opposite, saying that Old Dominion is 3 games behind Western Kentucky and won't catch them.
Although Western Kentucky lost tonight, so that kind of even a little bit closer.
I would have had Western Kentucky ahead of Old Dominion until tonight.
Yeah.
Okay. Other teams in this range, just
have you put Green Bay? Yeah, you put Green Bay in.
I would say Stephen F. Austin and Murray State would be the next couple.
Let's go.
Stephen F.
SFA here. Murray is in the process of clusing or Murraying at home to Eastern Kentucky right now.
If Murray State loses that game, you may see them slide a little bit, but I don't know if they'll slide off the 13 line even. So
I think Wofford is sitting right there.
Okay, we got Wofford.
Hey, Chad, we see you.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah. Oh, okay. I thought you.
No. It was this. It came off for some reason. I'm going to put it back up here.
Okay.
There we go. Okay. We're back on.
There it is. All right.
And I agree with your Iona.
Wofford, Iona. Let's go. Try to move through the other quickly here. I guess Kent State, Long Beach, or Harvard. Kent State.
Long Beach. I like Long Beach.
It's not going to be Harvard. It's going to be Yale.
It's going to be Long Beach. Long Beach is landing in. They're going to win out, get into the 30s, and land inside the bubble.
Cal Davis. They're tied right now. It's going to be a great fight to the end.
Yeah.
Kent State, Long Beach.
I actually
Harvard.
Eastern Washington.
Yeah.
Eastern Washington. I think the next team after Eastern Washington is North Carolina Central. I love this team.
You nailed it, Chad. I'm in 100% agreement with you there.
Yep.
And then I'd go probably Bill and Mary, High Point.
Yep.
High Point. Yale. Did you put Yale in yet?
No, I put Harvard in.
He's doing it wrong.
I vetoed you on that one, Joby.
Yeah, I know. I'm just kidding. Stony Brook, maybe?
I would go Georgia Southern here.
Yeah, Georgia Southern is having a great year by Under the Radar standards. And if you want to hear about our Under the Radar teams, okay.
I would probably go South Dakota State or Albany here, not Stony Brook. It would be Albany, who's undefeated in the America East.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll go Albany.
That's who I had Albany.
Next team, we got South Dakota State.
Mm-hmm.
Texas Southern still avoid the play-in game with those 2 big wins.
Yeah.
And then we got New Mexico State versus North Florida.
Yep.
Huh.
And SF against Bucknell, Patriot League champion.
Mm-hmm.
That's 68 teams, and about
Yep.
at least 4 too many, in my opinion. But
Yeah.
that's
Okay. Let's see. Having issues here. Whenever we try and focus in on Chad, the screen just goes black. We can't see
did
them.
we lost it again. Let me push up, put it up one more time here,
Okay.
because David is not allowed to control the control. That's why I was with someone without arms run the controls here.
Yeah.
There we go. I think we're back up again.
We're still black. I don't know why it's doing that. I can see it down in the little window there, but like when you click on the window, Chad, to blow it up, it's black. But anyway, all right.
Because I just got told I've encountered an internal error and must now close.
Well,
So I guess it's the end of our show, folks.
yes.
If I don't want to hit yes yet because.
Anyways.
Well, it sounds like that is a good song.
God. And anyway, Murray State has just tied the game.
I think David Greggs is taking over.
Told you I'd get him. But anyway, all right. So, Joby, take us out. Just tell everybody that the bracket will be up, and we'll see everybody on big games over the weekend, and we'll see everybody. Oh, wait, he's back.
And I'm back again. All right. Here we go.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's why we couldn't do it, folks. But what I will do is we'll get this posted into a bracket by tomorrow morning sometime.
Yeah. Well, Joby was going to take us out, but since you're back, I guess.
Well, Joby, take us out.
Well, thank you for listening to Hoops HD, the bracket rundown. Hope you learned something, especially that even if you have no arms, you might have occasionally some good ideas.